From busting open a stuntman's head in the middle of a John Wick action sequence, to struggling to hold back his laughter while filming an iconic scene in The Matrix, these are some of the biggest mistakes Keanu Reeves has made on screen. In a recent interview, the actor revealed something kinda shocking. While working on stunt choreography for John Wick 4, Keanu accidentally cut someone's head open. Apparently, a bunch of mistakes occurred on the set of the film, and a stuntman found himself with a deep gash on his head all cause Keanu messed up. In his defense, Reeves was deeply apologetic about it, and the injured stunt worker probably knew what he was signing up for when he took on the job. Besides, this wasn't the only injury that Keanu gave his co-workers during John Wick 4's production. This other time, a stunt went so wrong that it led to someone getting hit by a car. Look, all that crazy action was going to get someone hurt sooner or later, and this particular stunt was about as ridiculous as they come. This all went down while filming some hand-to-hand combat with a stunt worker, and in the middle of the brawl, Keanu had to throw his scene partner into a moving vehicle. Okay, technically it was only coming towards him at about 25 miles an hour, but that's crazy fast when you're shooting a fight scene. Especially when you need to make sure the other guy lands safely. Even though Keanu was super careful, the car ended up colliding with the stuntman, which landed him in the hospital for a few days. The good news is he managed to make a full recovery. Now, the thing about John Wick 4 is that it took the action to the max, so the chances of mistakes like these were way higher than ever before. That said, sudden injuries have happened in previous installments too. His sparring partner for John Wick 3 got kicked in a pretty sensitive area, and something tells me he had trouble walking for a short while after. You see, Keanu and his scene partner were working on some stunt choreography, and that forced them to get pretty up close and personal. The intensity of the scene led to Keanu taking things a bit too far, kicking his co-worker right in the crotch. Ouch! In all fairness, Keanu and the rest of the crew really try their best to take care of each other, but it's hard to avoid the accidental kick to the crotch when you're in the zone. Baba Yaga himself got hurt the exact same way in the very first John Wick film, when his co-star Adrian Palicki kneed and elbowed him in the testicles a bunch of times. Keanu hasn't even mentioned these accidents in interviews, and nobody knew about them until Palicki herself came clean, so clearly this is all just part of the job. It kinda seems like Keanu's involved in a few too many set accidents. But this is because of one big reason. He likes to do his own stunts. No, I'm not talking about the occasional stunt here or there. Keanu's gone on the record to say he does around 90% of his stunts, which is why his action scenes always have something special about them. You see, Keanu believes that action scenes should still stay true to the character's emotional journey, and the only way he can make sure of that is by taking stunts into his own hands. Some stunts are obviously too dangerous for Keanu to do on his own, but he's always quick to mention the stunt double that stood in for him, because he has enormous respect for the profession. In fact, it wouldn't be a stretch to call Keanu a stuntman too, it's just that he also has the acting side down pat as well, which kind of makes him a complete package as far as directors are concerned. In case you're thinking that Keanu puts people's lives at risk just because he wants to do it all, you should know that he puts a ton of effort into doing things right. To be honest, some of his biggest mistakes didn't even lead to people getting hurt. Instead, they involve Keanu taking his skills way beyond what's required, which can lead to some interesting discussions on set. For example, his biggest screw-up during John Wick 4 was getting too good at driving. The film has plenty of wild car chase sequences, so learning stunt driving was always going to be a part of Keanu's training schedule. But wait, how can anyone be too good of a driver, especially with so many stunts to perform? Well, you've got to understand, Keanu's driving was so flawless that the cars looked pristine by the end of the scene, which kind of took all of the tension out of the film. The crew had to reshoot the intense car scenes multiple times because the cars just didn't look damaged enough, and Chad Stahelski had to tell Keanu to dial his driving skills back a bit so they could get it done. Luckily for him, Keanu has an almost obsessive approach to the most dangerous stunts, and if he makes even a single mistake, you can bet he'll do it repeatedly till it's just right. I mean, what could be worse than jumping off a building? What, 19 times? Okay, let me start off by saying this. When Keanu was asked by Stephen Colbert about his most challenging stunts for Matrix Resurrections, he didn't get stressed out at all. Instead, he started rubbing his hands in excitement as he told Colbert about jumping off a bona fide skyscraper. I don't know about you, but that's the sort of thing that would make me weaken the knees. Keanu's clearly cut from a different cloth, because he talked about it the way you or I would about going out for some ice cream. Like, the guy had to leap from a building that was 46 stories tall, and it almost seemed like he wanted to do it again, just for the fun of it. Now, before you start thinking he's some kind of adrenaline junkie, Keanu's super scared of heights. In fact, he hasn't even been bungee jumping before. What's more, he's getting pretty old now, which is really messing up his sense of balance. The lack of experience coupled with his age made him pretty dizzy while he was up there, and he felt like he might fall over before the cameras started rolling. Eventually, Keanu was forced to redo the pulse-pounding sequence about 19 times. It must have taken a while to get used to the jump, what with his fear of heights and all, but there was no way he'd stop until he absolutely nailed it. In case you're wondering why he'd put himself through this instead of just green screening it, Keanu really respects the director, Lana Wachowski. He wanted to do her film justice, and that meant he had to take a literal leap of faith for her. You see, Keanu's not just in this for the money. He has a deep, passionate love for the Matrix franchise. I mean, he basically ignored a major spinal injury just to star in the first film, which might have been the biggest mistake in his career. After all, spinal injuries are no joke, and Keanu was reportedly feeling numbness and tingling in his fingers around the time he was cast. The Wachowskis asked him if he was ready for 4 months of intense martial arts training, but Reeves decided to keep the injury a secret so he'd get the part. Eventually, the injury got so bad that he had trouble moving his legs, and if you pay close attention to his performance, you might notice that his kicks are kind of stiff. That's because he had fused discs in his spine. Keanu had to go and get surgery done in the middle of filming, which forced him to wear a neck brace for a huge chunk of the production schedule. The Wachowskis even had to modify Neo's fighting style to emphasize punches over kicks. Otherwise, Keanu may have suffered permanent damage to his spine. I guess it all worked out in the end, and something tells me the Wachowskis were happy to change things up for their star. He became the face of their multi-billion-dollar franchise after all. Now, despite all the back-breaking labor, Keanu still managed to have some fun on set. Of course, sometimes his happiness at starring in the movie got the better of him, and he had a hard time holding his laughter in while shooting a critical scene. More specifically, he got a case of the giggles while filming the legendary lobby shootout sequence. The seriousness of Neo's dangerous quest to save Morpheus, not to mention the insane stunts involved, should have made Keanu put on his game face. However, he just couldn't stop laughing for some reason, and the Wachowskis kept having to cut filming so that their star could regain his composure. Eventually, Keanu managed to get finally hold of himself. He nailed every single stunt, from the triple kick to take down a soldier to the ridiculous somersault that had him firing a machine gun in midair. One thing's for sure, Keanu might make mistakes every once in a while, but that never stops him from delivering the goods in the end. So from his laughing fits while shooting the action-packed finale in The Matrix, to his unfortunate accident on the John Wick 4 set that slashed his scene partner's head open, these were the biggest mistakes Keanu Reeves has ever made on screen.